Yes, I hear you. I know. No. There's no miscommunication. I understand. Yes, I have it. I made it myself. I think you would like it. No one suspects anything. Don't worry. I'll be ready. And I won't let you down. It will be fun.
Imagine this. You're a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series in 2018. Ultimate Custom Night had just come out, and in the wake of Daco's bet with FNaF creator Scott Cawthon, you're pretty satisfied with how the series ended. Serving as a capstone and a final thank you to fans, UCN was pleasing, even if the ultimate message seemed melancholy. But then, on August 18th, you find out that final love letter was not exactly final. It's revealed that the VR game dev company, Steel Wool, will be developing a VR title that aims to recreate the FNaF series. And overall, it's stunning. When Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted finally drops, however, you find that it's not just a collection of ports. As you play, you begin to notice an odd figure who sometimes stood beside you, getting closer and closer as you got your hands on a collection of secret tapes. When you finally find them all, he decides it would be really funny to try and merge minds with you. This is Glitchtrap, and he's William Afton back at it again. Now, as a FNaF fan who's totally a normal person, you're angry with Steel Wool for bringing Afton back from the dead, like 2 months after people found out he was in hell. But then Help Wanted receives its DLC, The Curse of Dreadbear. As you find yourself collecting keys in the corn maze, you stumble back to where you spawned and go inside the bunker, where a white bunny mask lays on a table. You put it on, and back at the prize counter, stare at a Glitchtrap plush. Suddenly, you hear her voice. The voice is someone you had never known before, someone who seemed to be following in William Afton's footsteps. And you realize that this entire time, you've not been playing as yourself, but this new character, someone who had merged their mind with Glitchtrap. This was the world's introduction of Vanny, the reluctant follower of Glitchtrap, who would be the main antagonist of the following game, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I've said it before, but she's definitely one of my favorite characters, especially as of late. I find her story fascinating, her design interesting, and the theories surrounding her extremely fun to get lost into. Starting with her design, Vanny is a woman of average build. She wears a bunny costume, which she seems to have made herself from different furs and fabrics, and a bow. In promo images for Security Breach, she was also shown to be carrying some kind of chef's knife, but this was removed from the final version of the game, most likely due to censorship on Sony's part. This design is part of the reason I enjoy Vanny as a character so much. It harkens back to old slashers rather than animatronics, which is something I feel like seems like the next logical step for the series. I mentioned her knife being a chef's knife because that's the same kind of knife Michael Myers uses in the Halloween series. To me, however, she most reminds me of Ghostface, covering her face with a mask that has an exaggerated set of eyes and mouth, while being on the more active side than someone like Jason or Michael. Her costume garbles her voice as well, and she often uses technology to intimidate the main character of Security Breach, Gregory. Vanny as a threat isn't always the most present in Security Breach, but personally I find her more limited appearances to make the character feel like a larger threat. Face it, after you spend a couple hours dealing with Roxy, Chica, and Monty, Vanny is just more difficult to evade when you finally see her. She's always aware of where you are and chases you at a constant rate. Unlike the Glamrox as well, the closer she gets, the fuzzier your screen gets, the more tension increases. So let's delve into this antagonist and cover her admittedly limited history. As I mentioned in the intro, Vanny's first appearance was in Help Wanted, with the reveal that the player character has been Vanny the entire time. Well, not necessarily Vanny, but the woman who would become Vanny. Vanny, as we would find out in Security Breach, is a portmanteau of Vanessa and Bunny. Speaking of Vanessa, it's kind of hard to talk about Vanny without bringing her up. Let's get one thing straight. Vanessa and Vanny, at the very least, are definitely the same body. This is hinted at several points during Security Breach's runtime, as well as the Rooftop and Princess Quest endings. While some seem to believe Vanny is a distinct character from Vanessa, i.e. a twin sister, there's evidence against this theory within the game files of Security Breach. Upon tearing into this game, fans discovered a scrap survival mode, a mode wherein Vanessa would constantly be chasing Gregory. That is, until a certain point. When the Vanny meter on the screen filled all the way up, Vanny began chasing Gregory, presumably either until the meter went back down or some other requirement was fulfilled. What's interesting about this is that when Vanny spawns, Vanessa despawns, because they can't be in the same place at the same time. Another thing, each of the animatronics in the game have two different modes for each character, one in which they are fixed up, and one in which they are shattered or broken. Roxy without her eyes, Monty without his legs, Chica without her beak. But Vanessa also has a shattered mode in the game's coding, and that variant is Vanny. So with that out of the way, one thing I hardly see people bring up is just how Vanny and Vanessa are connected on the inside. Let me explain. Vanny is the protege of Glitchtrap, having first encountered him as Vanessa while being a beta tester for the original company making FNaF VR. It was after encountering Glitchtrap that she began receiving instructions, specifically to create her own rabbit suit, something she apparently wanted to impress him. The interesting thing about Glitchtrap's influence over his victims seems to be that when he merges minds with someone, that influence is tenuous. Vanessa is switching between her normal personality and Vanny often, and Jeremy, a victim of Glitchtrap's who died, went back and forth between complaining to his manager and then cutting off his own f***ing face with a paper guillotine. This influence side of Vanessa is who we call Vanny. Something else you might not have considered is that Vanessa is absolutely aware of Vanny's existence, as evidenced during her therapy tapes where she seems distressed to find out she's been caught on video buying animal fur to make the costume. In Security Breach, Vanessa and Vanny's goals are the same. They both want to find Gregory. However, Vanessa seems intent on keeping Gregory safe, which is why she locks him in the Lost and Found while she isn't inside it. It doesn't do her much good though, as Vanny still just walks right in because, of course, Vanny is technically also head of security. In fact, there's one scene towards the end of the game that I never really see people talk about, one wherein Vanessa invites Gregory back to the main stage when he's trying to escape. In this moment, I don't think that's actually Vanessa. I think that's Vanny, using Vanessa's voice to try and lure Gregory to come back, even going so far as to offer him an internship. I can't believe I wrote that down. The relationship between Vanny and Vanessa is an interesting topic on its own, but it's pretty easy to remember that Vanessa is a good guy and a victim, whereas Vanny is a bad guy and a murderer. So just, if you forget everything else in this section of the video, just remember that. Of Vanny's personality, we don't know very much. She seems to have a jovial side, but first and foremost is her fixation on intimidation. Her mask garbles her speech somewhat, and she has very few lines in comparison to the other characters. Her most notable phrase that she repeats throughout is the phrase, "Are you having fun yet?" And let me just say, that line is f***ing awesome. The delivery of the line itself is fantastic. It gives this vibe that she's playing this elaborate game, a game she knows Gregory could not win. She's angry, but not above playing with her prey. It also gives me some vibes of being her own version of "Follow Me," which was William's most iconic line from before he was a Springlock victim. I also need to mention that much of what you see of Vanny in the game is a cut down version of the Vanny that was in the uncut version of the game. A number of animations, including her walking on something like a tightrope or crawling through vents, show us she was going to be a much more menacing presence, especially if she was going to be capable of chasing you through vents, which remain one of the only ways you can evade her. But I think if we're talking personality, we should be talking patients 46 and 71. You can collect retro CDs after getting Roxy's eyes in Security Breach, which are able to be used in the secret Michael Afton room, I can't explain it, which gives audio logs of therapist visits between two patients and a series of therapists. One of these patients is Vanessa, while the other patient never speaks and apparently seems to be Vanessa's opposite. For instance, Vanessa doesn't like candies while 46 asks for some. The problem with the idea that Vanny is patient 46 is that 46 and 71 seem to talk to each other, back and forth in an encrypted conversation on a computer. While it's possible that that's just how Vanny and Vanessa talk to each other, there's plenty that still doesn't add up. For instance, the therapists comment on 46 not fitting the chair they're in, implying they aren't average size. They also treat 46 like a child, and the fact that there are two separate patient numbers in the first place, rather than Vanny and Vanessa just being patient 71. So if Vanny isn't 46, what other personality can we ascribe to her? Honestly, not a lot. That's mostly just because there isn't a lot to go on. I could talk some more about Vanessa, and I will, but honestly, a lot of the mystery surrounding Vanny is simply in finding out how she's connected to Vanessa. Vanny's role in Security Breach is the main antagonist. Her mission seems to be to carry on Afton's legacy, killing children, either to continue his experiments with Remnant or simply as an act of vengeance against the world. She also has an interest in rebuilding Afton, which may have been Glitchtrap's ultimate plan. She also seems to be the most likely candidate for the animatronics undergoing their corruption, and may have even been responsible for scrapping Glamrock Bonnie. As it stands, her biggest role in-game is as an occasional stalking threat. She often announces her arrival, but not always. One part of the game she doesn't specifically is during the Chica scrapping fight, where if you take too long in the staffbot silo, she'll spawn in and take you out. This is actually something that was planned for a lot of the game, but it only really happens there, otherwise it's all scripted. If you find her hideout in Phaser Blast, you can face up against her, and this is where you start to actually hate how she always follows you. You have to get past Roxy, and either Chica or Monty, while she dogs behind you. It's a very tense final chase scene. It's not necessarily the longest fight of the game, but in my opinion, is great as a send-off experience. I'm still of the belief that the Princess Quest, sometimes called Savior, ending is the canon ending, and that marks Vanny's ultimate role in the story. Either a monster you kill and escape from, or a victim you heal. Knowing that Vanessa is Vanny makes the Vanny ending that much more tragic, especially in how during her last moments, it almost seems like Vanny turns back into Vanessa. She starts to panic and hold her hands up defensively, something out of character for her up until that moment. While I'm not sure that's what happened, I think it would add a bit of final, tragic irony to the whole thing. But what's in the future for the character? Well, that all depends on the ending. So, I'll be real, the future does not look very good for Vanny. In several endings, Vanny is either killed or erased from Vanessa's mind, with the ones where she survives being the bad ending, the Van ending, and the Afton ending. If the Afton ending is the canon ending, then it's very likely we see Vanny return in the upcoming DLC for Security Breach. In fact, I wouldn't mind the Afton ending being canon if it means we see more of her. Her screen time was painfully short in the main game. That being said, I do kinda wish that Vanessa gets her happy ending. It's a win-lose scenario either way. If the Afton ending is canon, then William is definitely back, and that kinda sucks. If the Princess Quest ending is canon, then there's no more Vanny or William, and while not having William back rules, that also of course means Vanny goes away. Or is viciously ripped apart, take your pick. In my opinion, Vanny was underutilized. That much is obvious. But the presence she has is something special within the FNaF series. Not only is she the first human character in the series to ever jump scare someone, she marks a brand new era for the FNaF series. I'm hoping we can hold on to her as a main antagonist because she's such a great pick for a new villain, but I'm not sure how this can work with Vanessa being a protagonist. The mystery surrounding her, although one of the unexplored mysteries of Security Breach, is one of the more fun rabbit holes to dive into, pun absolutely intended. Come to think of it, it wouldn't surprise me if that's why Scott chose to represent William and Vanny as rabbits, because they're the ones making these huge rabbit holes a fan can get lost in. This entire video, I never touched on how Vanessa's last name is unknown but starts with an A and her father is named Bill. You know, maybe implying a little bit that she might be Vanessa Afton and her father is Bill Afton or William Afton. I'm not sure how accepted this is as a theory, especially since Vanessa is apparently 23 years old, but I think it would be really cool if Vanessa goes on to be the next Michael Afton, as in someone who stands up to her father, William, but this time she has a much darker side that Afton is in control of. No matter what though, I can safely say that Vanny is just what the FNaF series needed, so let's hope they bring her back. This might be wishful thinking, but rumors surrounding the FNaF movie actually say a character named Vanessa, who is a police officer, will be making an appearance. If Vanessa is in the movie, then there's a pretty solid chance that Vanny will be there as well, and we'll have an even closer comparison to Ghostface then. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I guess the one question I have for you, the viewer, is this.
Are you having fun yet?
I'm DMuted. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video around. Peace.